So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to go through and thank our next speaker and introduce him to the stage. Our next speaker has been involved in some of the city's most complex mixed-use, high-density urban renewal precincts. Has more than 14 years' experience in the property industry, which includes property development, private consultancy, state government and local government sectors. With a passion for the development industry, has extensive experience across residential, commercial, industrial, subdivision and mixed-use projects, including affordable housing projects, and holds a Masters of Property Development from the University of Technology in Sydney. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Aras Labutis, Development Manager at Coronation Property and the Vice Chair of the Housing Supply Association. Thank you very much, Aras.
Good afternoon, Minister Roberts and ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here today for the launch of the Housing Supply Association. I'm the Head of Urban Renewal at Coronation Property and the Vice President Policy of the HSA. The HSA has been formed by a group of like-minded people from diverse backgrounds in the industry who saw the need for action. This is because housing affordability is one of the biggest issues facing our nation, both for the current generation and for future generations. It affects almost everyone, and particularly those who are most disadvantaged, such as key workers, police, fireys, AMBOs and nurses, medically discharged defence personnel, people with a disability, and last but not least, first home buyers. When these people are forced to commute hours per day and not by choice, that's not good enough. So what is the HSA? The government has identified housing affordability as a top 3 priority, and one of the key answers to affordability is both housing supply in general, but also supply of affordable housing. The association was created to assist government with this task in helping to unlock the supply of housing and affordable housing, working in collaboration with government and the industry to implement effective policy change, and to actively locate and place key workers and others in new homes. New South Wales is currently enjoying record approvals and completions, as the Minister alluded to earlier. But the people in this room would know all too well that projects have a long pipeline. Rezonings take years, DAs take many months or years, and construction more time again. To ensure that supply remains at high levels to address affordability, it is important that the planning system is as efficient as possible. The true measure of housing supply is completion, or opening doors. While achieving record approvals is a good thing, approvals do not always turn into completions. Finance may be hard to get, a new DA might be sought, or the project might simply not start. The time taken to turn these approvals into completion is not quick, and the numbers are not always converted. In addition to delivering housing supply, the industry has an important role to play to ensure that that supply is of a high quality and doesn't perpetuate negative stigma. So why am I involved in the HSA? My role within a mixed-use urban master plan developer seeking to provide high-quality housing and affordable housing product across Sydney, as well as having a strong active role in Western Sydney, means I am at the coalface, so to speak. Western Sydney is home to a number of key workers and those who are on an average wage and are at most risk of mortgage and financial stress. The West has always struggled against key indicators, and there's a clear inequality between the East and the West when it comes to income, health and obesity, and school and education outcomes. We are doing our bit to ensure we create healthy, well-designed communities which will improve the quality of life for future residents in Western Sydney, but we want to have a broader influence on the industry. There are a number of considerations when we're looking at how to improve housing supply. There is a need for greater accountability for efficient decision-making at a local government level. All too often, applications can stall for too long, with little reason and no recourse. There's always room for improvement in planning policy, and the HSA is seeking to build a bridge between the government and the industry. And we're looking forward to working collaboratively with key stakeholders and everyone in this room to do this. There's a clear disconnect between state policy and local government implementation and delivery. Ultimately, supply starts and ends with local council, and we think there is a more active role for state government to play in delivering housing supply through priority precincts and infrastructure funding. I'm sure many in the room will be able to relate to our experience in the difficulty and the costs in bringing projects to market and bringing on housing supply. Recent examples of projects include one where apartment stock was sub 700,000 and we ended up paying almost 10% of this through voluntary planning agreements. This is obviously a huge impost on the cost of housing. There has also been recent news about a $20,000 per unit levy in Parramatta Road to deliver infrastructure and open space. We are all about development paying its way, but there needs to be a coordinated approach to contributions and discussions between the different levels. Otherwise, we run the risk of the ticket being clipped at every level without consideration of who else is also clipping that ticket. This is directly passed on to the consumer otherwise. To give you an example of the type of housing supply that can be expected to be enabled by the HSA, it's best to use one of Coronation's own. We have a major precinct in southwest Sydney, and we're willing to provide 1,000 units of affordable housing and also for first home buyers. This represents over 10% of the overall number of dwellings in the precinct. Other HSA members have identified similar commitments and projects, and there will be more to come. We're fielding calls every day. We have a group of industry here with shovel-ready projects to try and make a difference for housing supply. However, in order to deliver these efficiently, there needs to be collaboration, and there needs to be a more efficient planning system. The HSA is taking action to make this happen, and we look forward to having a positive impact on the industry and for communities. This is not the time for rhetoric, and this is not an us versus them situation. It is critical that industry and government unite. Let's roll up our sleeves and work together. The HSA is focusing on completions, on opening doors and living up to our name. Without supply, affordability will never be addressed. I'm looking forward to working with the government and the industry in this regard and everyone in this room to achieve this objective. I'd like to close by thanking everyone who's worked so hard to get the HSA to launch day, in particular Bill Pickering and his team at Hugo Halliday, who have worked tirelessly to get us here. And for all of you for coming here today, look forward to working closely with you as well. Thank you.